Hello everybody, what's up? I am back as promised. I am indeed following up with what to do after you've installed Arch Linux. This is a direct sequel to my last video, but if you've installed Arch just by following the wiki or by another video, then we're pretty much just, you've created a new user account and you have internet, and that is it. So we're going from there. So here is what we're doing today. We've got a nice list here that I've made kindly for you so that you can follow along. I'm joking, it's mostly for me to follow along. So allowing your user to sudo is the first thing we're gonna do. Then we're gonna update the system, talk about how often you should update your system. We're gonna install packages and talk about some Pacman flags. We're gonna install an AUR helper tool. We are going to talk very briefly about managing system processes. And of course, we're going to get to installing a graphical environment. Now, for the graphical environment, I am going to go through what options you have. You can see I'm on DWM right now, so that kind of gives you a little bit of a taste of what DWM would look like. So because of that, I'm going to install KDE, which is not something that I actually use, but I just want to install it so that you can see what it is and how it works. But we will get to all of that. For now, let's go ahead and start with allowing our new user account to use sudo. So you can see I am still in root, and I am once again SSH'd into this ThinkPad. I will actually be recording later on the ThinkPad, but just for now I'm SSH'd in to make it easier for you to see it. So we're in root and we need to edit the file etc/sudoers. Now if I were to just go vim etc/sudoers, it says it's read-only, and beyond that it says this file must be edited with the vsudo command as root. So let's do that. And oh no, we don't have v.
vi.
So what we need to do is just install that, pacman-sv. Go ahead and install that, and now we can vsudo. And we are in this file. So I'm just gonna search for the word wheel, since if you recall yesterday we put your new user into the group wheel. We did that specifically, so now we can allow that user to get sudo access because of that group. So there are three options. I'm just gonna highlight real quick. There's a lot more than three options, but right now I'm gonna discuss these three options. So, and I've actually added this third option. You probably will only see these first two options, but this third option, you can also do this, and you can type that in manually if you wish to. So starting with the first option. You can uncomment, and that means removing this hashtag, that's a comment. You can uncomment to allow members of group wheel to execute any command. That's the more secure option because they can execute any command, but it's gonna require you to enter a password when you try to execute a command with sudo. So if you're in like a public location, like a library a lot, and you might leave your computer unattended for 1 second, you don't want somebody to be able to do damage to your computer, you might want to go with this option. If you're just using a computer at home, it's the same as previous option, but it's not going to ask you for a password, it's just going to allow you to do it. And then finally, you can allow executing some commands with a password. So for example, you could make it so you can update your system without a password, but then if you wanted to like remove a bunch of files, since that's not in here, you would need a password. So hopefully that's a basic explanation of which of these you might want to pick. Since I'm just using this ThinkPad here right now and I'm not too concerned about security, I'm just going to go here and uncomment this line. So I'm just going to remove out that hashtag and I'm going to wq right quit. So now our user account should be good to use the sudo command in front of other commands. And I'm going to go onto that user account and I will be back in just 1 second on that user account. Okay, so I am now on my user account and we can go from here. So first of all, updating your system. So how do we do that? We do sudo pacman-syu. There's probably not gonna be any packages just because I installed Linux on it, 2 days ago now. So, oh, there is one package. All right, we have updated our first package. So what are these flags -syu actually doing? S is for sync, Y is for refreshing the databases, and you can force it to refresh if you put double Y, so -xyyu, that would be a force refresh, and then U is saying packages that need to be updated, just do those and update them. So that updates our system. How often should you update your system? Personally, for this PC, I update it every few days. You've probably heard maybe that, don't update Arch before you're about to have to do something important. That generally holds true. If you're about to need your computer for something very, very important, don't update Arch an hour before. But really, things aren't going to break that often, and something you can check to see if a package is going to require manual intervention, just on the Arch Linux homepage here, and it has an RSS feed if you want to use that. And you can see like the last manual intervention, okay, that was pretty recent. However, beyond that, this is the Arch Linux election leader result. Like, a lot of this is not intervention. It's very rare that you're gonna need to manually intervene. However, what might run you into problems is if you wait to update for months on end. I would not recommend doing that, because then things are gonna pile up. And not to mention, that is also a lot less secure, because if a package, and if we look down here, like the XE package has been backdoored, and this was a while ago, but they probably updated this very quickly, and if you updated, then you wouldn't have had an issue. But if you waited to update, you would be running that package on your system. It could be very insecure. So I would recommend trying to update, just, I don't know, if I were to spit out a number for new users, I would say once a week. That should probably take care of everything. So that's that. Now back to discussing Pacman flags. I just want to talk about, we've already talked about how to install a package. That's just sudo pacman-s. How do you remove a package? Sudo pacman-r. And I like to add a couple more flags onto that. So I like to do r and s to remove a package. What n and s are going to do, so n is going to remove any system configuration that was installed with that package that you no longer need. And that's not user configuration, that's not your dot files, that's just system configuration. And then s is going to remove any unneeded dependencies. So if you install, I don't know, anything that has a bunch of dependencies, and those dependencies are only required for that package and nothing else, it will get rid of all of those for you, so you don't have to worry about manually uninstalling those. So two other quick things with Pacman. How do you search a package? Like, say I want to get a music player and I don't know what music players are available. So I can do sudo pacman-ss music player. I can just type music player. It'll query what's available, and here are a bunch of music players. And I can just type like a partial name of a package, like if I want to see what's available for xrandr, etc. I can also look on my system for what's installed, so I can do sudo pacman dash, I think it's qi vim, and that's going to tell me all about vim. I can also qs to show multiple packages. All sorts of stuff you can do with Pacman. There's a lot of flags. You can just read man pacman. You can go through all the flags. Like I said, all sorts of stuff. There's also, you can read through on the wiki here about Pacman, and you can see I opened a lot of wiki pages here because I do want to just briefly kind of run through everything and be like, all right, this is available. You can go read it if you want to learn more. Anyways, so that's Pacman flags. Next up, let's install an AUR helper. So to demonstrate why you would want an AUR helper, I have a nice little package right here, which is actually going to be, let's look on the AUR, yay, and that's what we're about to install. That's the AUR helper we're going to install. You can see that's on the AUR right here. But if I were to just do sudo pacman-s yay, oh no, target not found. So the reason that it's not found is because Pacman is just for the official Arch Linux repository. But if we want to use the AUR, we need to install an AUR helper. And we're going to use yay for that. There's a few. I've used yay for a long time, so I'm just going to show you how to do that. Okay, sorry, I had to take care of something 1 second. I'm back. We are going to be installing yay, and the way to do that is we need to use git, and we're going to clone it, and then we're going to make the package. So if you don't have git, you would just install it with Pacman, sudo pacman-s git. I have it, so we're good there. Git clone, and then I'm going to put the URL right there, and I'll put that in the description. All right, we have yay. So now we can just cd into yay, change directory into yay. By ls, you'll see we have a package build here. which means we can use makepkg-si, and that is going to build yay for us. So as soon as it finishes building, we will have yay. We'll be able to install packages from the AUR. Now we have yay, and what we can do is yay, just on its own, is going to update your system. It's just going to act as sudo pacman-syu. So that'll save you a little bit of typing. Also, we can just get rid of this yay directory. We don't need it anymore. And just be careful running rm-rf. Make sure you are putting it to the directory you're intentionally liking to delete here, because that is a powerful command and you can wipe stuff, especially if you're doing it on root, so be careful. Anyways, we have yay. What else can yay do? Yay can, like I said, it's going to be able to download packages from the AUR. We can also search packages, so if I search music player again, that'll just search, and it'll actually let us select a number here, which is nice. So I could just get any of these if I wanted to. Don't need one right now. So that is what AUR helper can do. And obviously, yay does have other flags. You can go through and read about all the flags, but those are pretty much just the basic ones you'll need for right now. Removing a package is going to be the same, so yay-rns. And you don't need to put sudo in front of yay. Anyways, so next up, managing system processes. So I already did talk about how to use systemctl to enable network manager. I talked about that in the installation video. So that's going to enable a service to start on boot. You can also just start a service whenever you want with sudo systemctl start and then put the service name. Likewise, you can just stop it and that'll just start and stop as is. That's not going to enable it on boot or anything. You can also disable if you do have it enabled on boot. So if I wanted to disable network manager, I would just go disable network manager and that would prevent it from enabling on boot. Anyways, so we can also do status for a service, so status network manager. And network manager, for whatever reason, is capitalized. Most services aren't, some are, but just bear in mind. So you can see we have network manager, it is running. Here are some logs for what it's been doing. It's active, it's loaded, it's enabled, everything's working. But I just want to show you this because if for whatever reason something wasn't working, you could go into this, like if a process refused to start, like say you installed Bluetooth and it refused to start, well, it might have some information right here in these logs about why it refused to start. I am planning to make a video about how to actually carefully go through logs because there's other commands you can use as well. But this is just a basic jumping off point if something isn't working on a service. Alright, so next up, htop. I'm actually going to go ahead and install that and show you again. You can just yay htop. I want to get number 1. I'll install number 1 right there. Just press enter at that. Alright, and now we have htop, and that is a nice little viewer for system processes and more. If you're completely new to Linux and you would like a process viewer, I would recommend this one. However, when we do get to desktop environments later, stuff like KDE and GNOME each have their own process viewer, so you can just go with whatever is, works best for you. Alright, so what do we have here? We've just got processes with the PID, the user, we've got %CPU and memory used, we've got overall memory used, swap space used. These are CPU cores here, uptime of the system. Oh, and if you want to kill a process, and you can see at the bottom here, there's all sorts of stuff, help, setup, you can read through for anything you need, but if you want to kill a process and it's like not responding or whatever, you can't kill it normally, just F9, and you can go signal terminate or whatever kill signal you need to use. F10 can quit. I just wanted to show you that just so you have something to manage processes with if you're just setting up everything and you haven't figured out everything you're doing yet. Alright, so finally we are on to getting into a graphical environment. So what I'm going to install, I said this earlier, I'm going to install KDE just so that you can see what it's like. I do want to say, I have all these tabs open. Why don't we just go through these tabs here and I can talk about all of this stuff. So the first thing you're going to need, you are going to need a display server. I'm going to be showing you how to install xorg just because that's kind of the classic one. There's also Wayland. Wayland is newer. It has less overall support. So if you're looking for something like tried and true, that's xorg. If you're looking for something with like more features, and I think even Plasma is going to drop support of xorg at some point, so you might eventually have to switch to Wayland regardless if you want to use Plasma. Anyways, so these are the main two options. I'm just going to go with xorg today, but obviously feel free to read about them and figure out what you would like to use. I am also going to go with xinit and startx. However, what you can also use is a display manager, and there's a lot of options here. And what a display manager will do is essentially, instead of you having to log in, you'd log in here, you'd put your username, your password, and then you would type startx to get into a graphical environment. A display manager will just pop you immediately into a graphical environment. So just like you were using, Windows or Mac or whatever, where you boot it up and you're immediately able to log in a graphical environment. That is completely unnecessary, but if you do want to do that, there's a lot of options, so you can do that. Since it is not necessary, I'm not going to be doing that, just because if you are using, xinit startx, all you have to do really is type startx. You have also desktop environments versus window managers. So desktop environments include window managers, but window managers don't include desktop environments, if that makes sense. Sort of like a square rectangle situation. So desktop environments, the two big ones I want to talk about are just KDE and GNOME, because if you are looking for something that's kind of like, I don't know, like that Apple ecosystem where you've got like all of these apps that work with each other and you can like sync it to your mobile devices and all that, KDE and GNOME offer that, and you can get all of the, KDE and GNOME branded apps. KDE and GNOME are two separate things. Sorry, I keep saying, KDE, GNOME together. No, two separate things, but you could get KDE or you could get GNOME. You can open these up to read about them, look at them. And there's tons of other desktop environments. There's like probably, 20 at this point. So there's tons of stuff you can get. I highly encourage, if you don't know what you want to use, just download a bunch and play around with them and see what works best for you. Now, like I said, I am currently on a window manager. I'm on DWM, which is Dynamic Window Manager. So it has both floating windows and tiling windows. And something that I didn't say yet about desktop environments, a lot of them are floating windows by default. So what is a floating window? A floating window is if I just open this and then pull it out and move it around, that's floating. See, it's on top of another window. But tiling is if I open a window and it's not on top of another window. So that's floating versus tiling. If you do wish, you can put tiling on top of something like KDE. You can have a tiling window manager, but also use KDE as a desktop environment. So that's possible to do if you wish. Or you can just, like I'm doing, just run a straight window manager, DWM, so, or any of the other window managers here. There's plenty of window managers available. There is stacking window managers, and there's also tiling window managers. There's really tons and tons and tons of stuff available. So you probably just want to figure out what you like the look and the feel of, what gives you the customization options you want, and then go from there. And I am planning to make a follow-up video talking about my build of DWM and the things I have configured about it, but really it is going to be ultimately what works best with your workflow. Because that's the point of Linux. The point is doing it the way you want to do it, right? Anyways, so back to, we're going to install KDE. So I pulled up KDE here just to show it to you. But the packages that I am going to install for KDE are going to be xorg-server, and and these are first the xorg packages for xorg here. And if you wanted to use Wayland, then you would be using all Wayland packages, and you would have to look up what those are. But these are just some base xorg packages that we can use. Xorg-server is the one you'll need. Xorg-xinit, that's for using startx and xinit. If you were going to use a display manager, I believe you would not need that. And then xorg-xrandr, that's a tool that I'm going to show you later for just configuration. And then for KDE, you're going to want plasma-meta. And then I'm also going to tack on a browser, and I'm going to want a terminal emulator once I'm in KDE, so I'll get Firefox and I'll get console. And it's going to ask what dependencies I want. I'll just go with the defaults. You can obviously pick what you want. And it is going to install. So once it installs, I'm just going to cut to the end of it finishing installing here, and then we will go from there. Okay, hello. It looks like everything has finished installing, so we are good to get started on our xinitrc. So what is our xinitrc? That's going to be what runs when we run the command startx. And we're just going to put in what desktop session we're going to want to launch with it. And obviously this is going to change depending on what you install. So I'm just going to go ahead and vim into .xinitrc. If it doesn't exist, you can just create it. In my case, it exists because I already put this in, so that you have that right there. I don't need to go ahead and type it. This is what you're going to want for Plasma. Export the desktop session as Plasma, and then exec start Plasma x11 is what you're going to want there. So then if I go ahead and run startx, we are going to launch into Plasma. Since I'm SSH'd in, I'm going to run it on this laptop here and then actually start recording on the laptop, so I will just cut it once I have the recording going on the laptop here. Okay, we are in. So we are in KDE. I have started recording. So there's just a few more things to talk about. I'm not thrilled with how KDE looks, but I just wanted to show it to you so you could see how a full desktop environment would look. You've got the KDE system settings, so you'll probably be very familiar with this sort of configuration if you're coming from Windows or Mac. All sorts of stuff, very easy to set up. And if this is what you're looking for, KDE or GNOME or any other fully featured desktop environment is a great option. Or if you're looking to get your hands dirty with the command line and with setting up files yourself, then I would definitely recommend window managers and especially DWM. i3 is also good. I know Hyperland has been popular recently. I have yet to try that, but maybe I'll make a video trying it. Honestly, why not, right? Lots of cool stuff to tinker around with in Linux. Anyways, so the one last thing that I do want to go over is the xprofile file. I'm not sure if this exists yet, but I'm just going to go ahead and remove it if it did exist and create a new one just to show you. So let's go ahead and vim into .xprofile. And what is this file? This is going to run when you run startx. So it's going to run the xinitrc file. It's going to run the xprofile file. It's also going to run a file called xresources, but that's a little bit different, so I'm not getting into that in this video. If you want to, I'll make a video on all that sort of stuff later on. Anyways, xprofile is just if you want to have applications start when you enter your session here. So say I want to start a browser, if I want to start Firefox here, when I enter the session in KDE, so I'm just going to type Firefox and that'll start up Firefox. So you can launch programs, pretty simple. You can also do stuff like setting your display DPI or your monitor layout and a primary monitor. And I just wanted to show that because that's something kind of necessary to get you started if you're using multiple monitors. So if you do have multiple monitors, and this is why we installed xrandr, and I'm actually going to open a new window here just to show you. If I just type xrandr, it's going to show me info about my primary monitor, which is just the laptop screen. It's got the resolution, it's got possible resolutions, and I just wanted to show you that because that is how you're going to figure out what the name of your monitor is. If you want to, for example, set monitor layout, so something you could do xrandr --output, and then you would put the name of the output. So in this case, it's, I don't know, EDP-1, EDP-1, and I'm gonna do --left of, and I'm gonna pretend I have a second monitor, a phantom second monitor here, called my monitor. That's not spelled correctly, but whatever, pretend I wrote my monitor correctly. And that is when you are entering into your session and it runs xprofile, it's going to put the monitor to the left of the EDP-1 monitor. So something else you can do is, if I had multiple monitors and for some reason, you know, it detected the wrong monitor as primary, say like I put in a second monitor, that's actually my main monitor. So I could put, you know, the other output name, so my monitor, and I could do -- primary. That's going to set that as the primary monitor. So that way, if I have like my taskbar here set to, you know, only display on the primary monitor, that would display on the correct monitor then, etc. So that's xrandr, and there's a lot more you can do with xrandr. You can do stuff like set the gamma, which you probably won't need to do if you're in a desktop environment, but if you are just in a window manager, maybe you want to make a script with that. All sorts of stuff you can do with xrandr. If you want to like make a manual script, I think KDE has like a night light option, but if you want to make a script yourself to, you know, dim your display as it gets darker outside, you can do that with xrandr. All sorts of great stuff. Anyways, that's xrandr and xprofile. I just wanted to show you that briefly, and from here I think you should be in a pretty good place to get started with just using Arch, daily driving Arch, if that is what you wish to do. And there is one more thing that I did want to mention, which is that you can actually use somebody else's script to install like a fully functioning window manager setup for you. So for example, Luke Smith has a script called larbs, and if you just, you know, run that script on a fresh Arch installation, it will set up a fully functioning window manager. It's his setup, his configuration files, his build of DWM, etc. If you're just wanting to use something that, you know, is a window manager but you don't want to set it up, you can go with that. But as always, since Arch is a DIY distro, of course I'd, you know, be in the camp of make sure when you're, you know, installing something, open it up, play around with it, customize it, all sorts of stuff. Anyways, hope this video did cover everything that you needed to get started. If not, I will probably still be making follow-up videos to this, talking about more stuff. Oh yeah, and I did want to mention I am planning to make a future video talking about DWM a little bit more. I also want to make a basic shell scripting guide just for like normal user stuff that you would want to script like on a daily basis, functions that you would like scripted. Just to get you started with that. I have some more ideas for videos that I'm not yet saying, so it'll be a surprise. And if you have ideas, tell me in the comments. If you have questions or if I got anything wrong or something was unclear, tell me in the comments. And yeah, hope this video helped you out, and I will see you again soon. Peace.